Namaskar viewers. We have with us Dr. Y.S.C. Khuman, faculty member of the School of Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies, who will be talking today about agro-biodiversity and nutrition security. Dr. Khuman is the program coordinator of the postgraduate diploma in sustainability science being offered by the School of Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies. Let me begin by asking Dr. Khuman why we need to discuss the issue of agro-biodiversity and nutrition security.
We know that in India, the issues we are looking into, the healthy nation, for a healthy nation, good nutrition is important. And the basic issues we are having in rural area is the nutrition status of children is far below the requirement. But whether the government is able to provide these things to the stakeholders. If not, how to do that? One issue. The other is, if you look into the food demand, looking into the socioeconomic condition across the country, 70% of our countries is under rural India. From where they will get the food. Of course, it is from the agriculture. So we have seen from the beginning of civilization, we have seen the relation between the availability of food and the agricultural production. That is the reason why in this contemporary world, where we have seen the issues of climate change, the issues of production, reduction in production, the issues of health in rural, irrespective of rural and urban, the issues of health is very common. So we need to understand the linkage between this nutrition security and status of agro-biodiversity.
Can you kindly define this concept in greater detail? You've made some very important points about the need to look at agro-biodiversity and nutrition security. Well, let's try and understand a little bit more about it.
Yeah. What is our basic needs? First, we need to understand the basic needs first. The basic needs is food we eat, clothes we wear, the shelter we are staying. So from where these basic needs comes. Food, as I mentioned a few seconds back, food comes from the production where we are cropping, agricultural activities, and from the well. Next is clothes. Clothes is also a product of the natural areas, natural resources. Then shelter, constructing the shelter where we depend from natural resources. So these three factors, food, cloth, and shelters, where does it comes? And if you look into the human history, it is the agriculture that brings the sudden changes in the human civilization. So that is why we need to understand the concept of agro-biodiversity. So it is defined as the variety and variability of animals, plants, and microorganisms that are used directly or indirectly for food and agriculture, including crops, livestock, forestry, and fisheries, and comprises a diversity of genetic resources, varieties, and breeds. If you see, the modern breeds are also there. And species used for food, fodder, fiber, oil, and pharmaceuticals, and the health benefits. And it also includes the diversity of non-harvested species that support production, that is soil microorganisms, predators, pollinators, and those in the wider environment that support agroecosystem, as well as the diversity of the ecosystem. As a layman, agro-biodiversity is diversity where the crop we have seen, different form of crops, that is not a real meaning. So in some slide, see, for example, if you look into our rural area, even in our urban area also, if you look into the traditional home or kitchen garden, we'll see variety of spices, variety of crops, variety of nuts you are growing. Then if you go to the countryside, you will see different landscape, agricultural landscape. For example, this is the terrace cultivation in the Himalayan area. So when you see this picture, you will feel that, as a layman, you will feel that agro-diversity is diversity where you have seen the planting this field, terrace field. There is relation between the surrounding forest. So this is also part of the production system, agricultural activities. They are also part of agro-biodiversity. This is the reality where irrigation comes from this hill slope. There is river system. This river system is also part of agro-biodiversity. To maintain the health of all these component, if you see in this picture, is agrobiodiversity. Not only your crop where you are maintaining, then see, we need fertilizer. If you look into the natural manure, we need cow dung as a manure. You forget about the modern fertilizers. For your cultivation, we need cows, buffaloes, and for health and sanitation of buffaloes, you need small ponds, river ecosystem, pond ecosystem. This all is part of agrobiodiversity. So what it gives? It gives health of everything. So when you talk about agrobiodiversity, we have to understand each and every component which is directly or indirectly related to the system. That is why the meaning of the FAO definition has given.
Dr. Kuman, that's really a very, very interesting, presentation that you have made so far, because I think we are beginning to understand that, human activities and the natural world have to be in some kind of a harmony in order that the maximum utility can be obtained from Mother Nature.
Yes.
And in this context, I'd just like to say that these days we are seeing a lot of monocropping.
Yeah.
We are seeing, the different, you mentioned the kitchen garden where different kinds of seeds and plants and herbs used to be grown. We are seeing this a lot less nowadays. So can you actually explain to us the relevance of this concept, particularly in the present times?
See, madam, if you look first, let us look into the vulnerable section of the society. They are the keeper of this agrobiodiversity. Unfortunately, if you look into socio-economic condition, what they are prevailing there, that did not allow them to maintain as a storekeeper of the land races. We call land races local varieties. That is one of the region. Take out that loss of agrobiodiversity, the socio-economic condition, who are the keeper of this property. See, in India, Koraput is one of the center of origin of rices. These are different varieties of rices which are stress tolerant, more than 100 varieties. But during the last 2 decades, because of one or other factors, it is losing. So, this socioeconomic condition plays an important role. Let us try to understand the concept, the reality in the concept, what exists as a layman, as an educated person. The traditional knowledge we have, and other term that's also local ecological knowledge, is declining. What our forefather knows, we are not able to aware. The reason behind that is, because of your socioeconomic condition, you need to grow such kind of crop which give more production. That's why you talk about intensive agriculture. This is intensive agriculture. Monoculture. Because you are giving more profit. Other side, if you are continuing your traditional cultivation practice, the backdrop of traditional practice is we do not have proper marketing facility. So when you do not have market linkages, this automatically cut off. So intensive agriculture is also one of the reason. Then the point is whether we have a policy to give incentive to those farmers who are the keeper of this knowledge, who are the keeper of this agrobiodiversity. No. As you see in the newspaper, we are in the last few months, we are having a lot of voice of the farmers. This is the reality. That is the reason why farmers are not willing to continue the traditional crops. This is the reason, madam. This is what we are facing nowadays. You forget about the facts and the figures. This is the reality.
So would it be correct to say then that there is a lot of homogenization, the regional diversity that there used to be there, that is, being destroyed in some sense? And how are we going to try and restore this? What kind of remedial measures can we think of taking in this regard?
Let us take an example. The way we are losing our agrobiodiversity, let us take an example, Hindu Kush Himalaya. In the Hindu Kush Himalaya, that is Pakistan, Afghanistan, Indian, and then Chinese part, and then up to Myanmar. The rate of decrease in these land races is in a very high rate. Millets, buckwheat, horse gram, they are diminishing. The reason behind that is one of the important reason is globalization of food. Today, if you ask irrespective of rural or urban, every children, what do you want to have? I want to have Maggie. I want to have noodles. You will get everywhere this thing. So, two kind of diversity in the food you will find out. One is that consumption diversity, that is important with universalization. You can see in your plate in a restaurant, you will find diversity in plates because we have continental these and a different kind of dishes. The other is the production diversity, which you see in the traditional religious practices. Nowadays, if you look into traditional religious practices, you will find the number of varieties of dishes you have seen few years back, you will not find it. This is the example, best example, where you have seen the reality of the agro-biodiversity of our country is losing. See, India have 15 agroecological zones. Why? Because we have different microecological conditions. Because of that, different varieties or different cropping patterns exist. But due to global phenomenon of climate change, one factor, socioeconomic condition, another factor, these factors bringing down the diversity in cropping pattern, agricultural pattern, and maintain the traditional diversity of different crops. This is reality.
One of the very crucial issues that is facing the country and in fact the world is the issue of nutritional security. And in the earlier part of your presentation, you have been indicating this. So please tell us a little more about the connection between agrobiodiversity and nutritional security.
A recent study by Faustet that was in 2014 that linked with the diversity that malnutrition children, status of malnutrition children, and diversity. And in that trend, it shows that more diverse country, diversity in the food, agricultural diversity has lower number of malnourished children.
Yeah.
So this is highly related. So first we try to understand what is nutrition security. We are talking about food security. Food security doesn't mean that you fill your stomach, you are secure. The important is you need to have a good health. Taking this rice every day instead of taking other micronutrients doesn't mean that you are secure from food. Means you have food security. So the important is that part of nutrition. So nutrition security demands intake of wide ranges of foods that provide basic nutritional requirement for proper growth. Good health needs proper growth. So getting nutrition security, you need to understand 4 A's, irrespective of the economic status of the people. One is availability. Which kind of food? The food which gives you the nutritional requirements is available or not. Second is acceptability. For example, some non-based food which are highly nutritious, if we give it to vegetarian, that may not be acceptable. So acceptability is important. If you have available, okay, if I give Dr. Subhangi, this is your nutritious food. First you have to accept, you have to see what is that, whether your social norms or what your custom is allowed to take that particular food, or you are comfortable with that or not. Then you have to accept. Second, the third one is accessibility. If the food, nutritious food is available, or if it is accepted, whether you are accessible to that. If I see go there is that nutritious food and take it. If you do not have access permit, means that comprise of economic status also. Accessibility is important. Then the last one, affordability. If you are not able to afford the food available, the required food available, that gives required nutrition, it is not possible to maintain that. That's why we are talking about the agro-biodiversity. So we need to talk about local available nutritious food. When you talk about local available nutritious food, the need is that existing locally available different varieties of agricultural pattern, agricultural diversity. This is what we need.
So basically, I think what you are indicating is that when we talk about agrobiodiversity and nutritional security, it is not just a matter of cultivation, or it is not just a matter of, the processes that go into agriculture itself. You're also talking about issues of culture, issues of values, issues of, people's understandings of the environment and the world in which they live in. In other words, you're actually painting a very interdisciplinary kind of a connect between nature and between culture.
Yeah, that is more important.
So I think that's a very, very important, connection that you're making. And the presentation that you have made is truly very, very enlightening, as well as food for thought, I think. So, and I'm sure, you would like to add more to this discussion.
Before coming to the concluding remark, the point you raise in between is what we have to do. The point is, we know in one side, the health status of majority of the section of the society is not able to get the nutritional security.
Right.
On other side, the food requirement, nutritious requirement, which are possible to get or locally available in very accessible, highly affordable, this status of the diversity is decreasing because of different factors, cross-cutting issues like climate change and others. So what we have to do? The need of the hour is we need to conserve the agro-biodiversity, especially for nutrition security in this context. Because crop diversity is directly related to dietary diversity. The first and foremost thing, what we need to do for conservation of agro-biodiversity for a nutrition security is we need to give incentive to the farmers who cultivate nutrition-rich traditional crops, where nowadays we do not see that kind of policies irrespective of region or countries. If you look into last few years, we have seen, organic food, organic product. But if you look into real diversity, we do not see whether farmers is directly getting that benefit for maintaining the diversity of that particular local varieties. This we do not see. That's why I have given you that example of that Koraput region. Even this in Manipur, if you see, there is one variety of rice is this highly nutritious. This is called black rice, very highly aromatic and nutritious. Last, when I was a kid, every small farmers used to plant this variety of rice, but production is very low. Most of traditional varieties production is very low. Because of that, since you are not getting incentive and your market is cut off because no one is ready to buy. In the last 2-3 years, the scientists realized they started to aware the people. Now, people started to plant or to cultivate those varieties in a big scale. So, this kind of incentives or that market on-farm, off-farm market linkage has to be given. Then, to encourage suitable stress-tolerant mixed cropping system has to be introduced. And they have to be given subsidy. The most important is what type of product farmers are producing. That need to have a linkage of off-farm and on-farm market linkage. And home gardening should also be increases. Wherever the spaces they have, for example, in urban area also, we have the government or society, whatever. It may be non-governmental or NGOs, it may be resident welfare association, it may be government. They need to have a policy to increase this home garden and all these things. So in a nutshell, what I want to conclude is conservation of agro-biodiversity, or ecological terms, keystone species, conserving a keystone species. For example, if you conserve a tiger, you are conserving the whole large ecosystem. And like that, if you conserve the agro-biodiversity of a country, you are conserving the whole nation. Because the benefit is not only to the individual, you are going to get benefit environmentally, ecologically, nutritionally, and at last we are going to have a healthy nation. If you look into the figure of India, we have 0 to 15 years, about 35, more than 30% of our population in 2011 is in 0 to 15 years of age. Yeah. So if they are healthy, then our nation will be healthy. This is what I want to convey to the people.
Well, I think this was an extremely enlightening and interesting discussion by Dr. Khuman, and I would like you to thank you for it and urge our viewers to reflect upon the very, very important messages regarding diversity, nutrition security, and conserving the environment in a sustainable way, which really are the keystones for a healthy and a prosperous nation. Thank you.